Hello everyone, this is Brave Sir Robin coming to you with another EB Online commentary battle. This one is a 2v2, it was played recently with the new 3.0 EDU. And I am on a team playing as Makedonia, and my teammate is Arjos Suadurix. He's playing as Epeiros. We're matched up against these two armies far off in the distance here. Pontos, which is controlled by Shak, and the Ptolemaioi, which are controlled by Rehskiold, who's better known and more easily pronounced the Celtic Viking, or TCV. Okay, so we actually ended up deploying really far from one another because there was a spectator, and it sort of screws up the lineups in the 2v2. But I'll use this time to go through with all the armies and sort of give you an idea of what I brought. Okay, so we'll start off with my army. I knew I was going off against Pontos, and Pontos usually goes very archer heavy with the Bosphorans. So I decided Macedon doesn't really have great options in terms of missiles. So instead of bringing missiles, I brought 3 cheap expendable units of Lugoi spread out in loose formation across the front of my army, sort of just to drive his heavy archers that I assumed he was bringing back. I have brought, as my phalangite line, I brought 4 units of Ptolemaioi, and in the middle 1 unit of Phalangitai Deuteroi, Levy Phalanx. For the flanks of the phalanx, I've brought a unit of Cordonau Orca on each side, the Skordizki Elite Infantry. They're probably one of, if not the best infantry in head-on battles, and I really love these guys, especially as regards to the phalanx. In support of the phalanx on either side, I've brought a unit of Agrianikoi Pelikophoroi, Agrian assault infantry, who are axe-armed, I would say medium axemen. And then on either side of the line, I've brought 2 units of Therophoroi, the Hellenic spearmen. You can see them here and there. I like to use these guys as mobile walls against cavalry. They're one of my favorite units for that, actually. In the back, I have 2 units of Sphendonetoi, slingers, who are hopefully back there. They're protected against his archers. And for my cavalry contingent, I've taken 2 units of Epeiros. Now my ally, Arjos, has brought a phalangite line composed mainly, well, actually a pretty healthy mix. It seems 2 units of Phalangitai Deuteroi, 1 unit of Pesitairoi, and 1 elite phalanx, the Kainan Agama, who are probably one of the coolest looking units in game. For his missiles, he's brought 2 units of Mistophoroi Toxotai Kretikoi, mercenary Cretan archers. He's also brought, I believe back here somewhere, 2 units of Sphendonetai, just like I did. In support of his phalanx line, he has 2 units of Therophoroi. He's brought in the back a unit of Thrakioi Ramphaiophoroi, elite Thracian infantry, who carve through things very quickly and efficiently, I might add. He has brought 2 units of Takitos, the Celtic axemen, and 2 units of Agrianikoi Pelikophoroi, the Agrian assault infantry. Just like I did. Don't mind the terrain in the background. It annoys me all the time too. Sorry for that. And then we have here 2 units of Epeiros Aspidoroi, like skirmisher cavalry, and 2 units of Lankophoroi Epeiros. Now, moving across, the Ptolemaioi have brought 2 units of Sphendonetai out in loose formation in front of the army. They have a main line of 4 hoplitai, 2 units of Therophoroi on either flank. This is obviously a Hellenic battle. 2 units of Macomoi, 1 on each flank, of course. A unit of Galatikoi Tindonatai, the Galatian wildmen, who are the eastern equivalent of Gaisatai. A unit of Arabian slingers in the back. 3 units of Galatikoi Klerakoi, the Galatian heavy swordsmen, who are one of the Ptolemaios' best infantry units. And he's gone relatively cavalry heavy here too. He has a unit of the general's bodyguard, which are basically Tyroi. 1 unit of Agama Clericon Hippeon, a heavy lancer. 1 unit of Lankophora Hippeis, who have shields and are pretty good in melee. and 2 units of Epeiros. The Pontic player, meanwhile, has gone, as you would expect, rather archer heavy. He has 4 units of Therophorontes, Toxotai. 2 of them are spread out in front of the army. The other 2 are over here on this flank. He brought 2 units of Scuda Fat Oxidistai, I don't know, the Scythian horse archers that he ran over to this flank. And because he ran those over, I actually asked our host to bring his unit of Cretan archers over here to cover me, because slingers don't do well against light horse archers. For Shak's main line, he has 5 units of Clericoi Philangitai, one of which has the captain's unit. He brought a unit of Theropheroi on right behind that in support, as well as a unit of Acontistai, presumably for their javelins over the back of the phalanx. He also has a unit of Galatikoi Tindonatoi, as well as 4 units, or 3 units it appears, of Eastern Axemen, the Tabagane Eran Sharar. And for his cavalry contingent, he's brought 2 units of Scythian Noble Cavalry. Okay. Now, so I start off just sort of, we march forward because we don't have the missile advantage. And I just sort of run these guys out here. I'm basically tempting them to shoot at them. I don't really care. They cost next to nothing. They cost basically the equivalent of a slinger unit. But obviously there's more men and they can fight in melee. And they can tie his archers up if need be. So I'm just going to fast forward this a little. Nothing's really going on at this point. I don't want to bore everyone to death. There's a little bit of a missile duel out here. His Cretians don't perform very well in it. He only has the one because I asked him to bring the other one over. So end up getting torn up by the slingers here. Anyway, fast forward this. And I might just skip a little of this in the video anyway, because it is sort of a boring engagement up to this point. Anyway, I end up bringing my slingers over, sort of just fire at his and support my ally. Yada yada yada. He slips his horse archers around the back, but the Cretians are still there to ward them off, which is great. I was concerned about the horse archers because I didn't really bring that much mobile infantry, besides the Theropheroi. And I don't have any light cavalry, only heavy cavalry. And they're heavy cavalry without shields too, so it could have been bad news. Anyway, this battle continues. There's a lot of skirmishing out here. Okay, so basically there was just a lot of skirmishing. The Ptolemaioi player actually got the better of it. TCV did a pretty good job here of microing his slingers, which is not something you hear every day. So I have my slingers over here, been beat up, and I end up bringing over these Theropheroi to help support this flank. I was a little concerned about the cavalry advantage the TCV had. TCV is a veteran player, and our host just recently started playing when this battle was fought, probably about a week ago. So I figured with the same amount of cavalry, actually the Ptolemaioi player has one more, if you count the general, that he would have the advantage. So I wanted to sort of give our host a hand. Anyway, so what happens over here, and finally we start moving things along. Shak makes a gamble, and he decides to set 2 of his archer units, an Eastern Axeman unit, and both his cavalry units out on this flank. And I talked to him about it later, and he said that what he was hoping to do here was distract me, and it ends up working perfectly for him. And then he would sort of slip in behind me and destroy my main line. I don't think he was expecting the Lugoi. The Lugoi, probably only a good move because he wasn't expecting it. If you expect cheap expendable levies, you can get units that will carve through them in no time. Or even just missile cav will do the trick as well. But it actually sort of works out here. But he mentioned after the battle that if he'd been prepared for that, it wouldn't have been a big deal at all. Anyway, so now you can see things are sort of coming to a head here. My Theropheroi are out on this flank as well as my slingers. I just send my slingers to fire over at some stuff. Aros engages with his phalanx against the hoplite line, and you can see how this works out. Eventually these men will put their spears down. And I move my phalangites in to engage Shak's slightly inferior Clericoi phalangites. I actually also don't engage the Deuteroi because they're inferior to the Clericoi, so I move them over here to sort of seal this whole area. Doesn't work really that well. I didn't engage these properly. But anyway, I moved this Thoropheroi unit out, sort of by mistake. I didn't support it very well up against his archers, but it ends up working out to my advantage. The Thoropheroi are pretty missile resistant. And so you can see them engage the archers. And then I moved the Lugoi up as well as my cavalry. And another unit of Thoropheroi. And he slides over some axemen to help. And I see the axemen are sort of exposed here, and they have really crappy morale. They're not very good against cavalry, so I make a gamble and just decide to smack them with both units of the Tyroi. It doesn't rout them, and he sends his cavalry in, so I have to pull back. But it does weaken the unit. It takes about 15 men out. Not a bad deal. And it keeps his cavalry moving and not supporting the archers over here as well. So I pull my Tyroi back. He's got his horse archers over here, but his horse archers are getting shot by the Grecians over there. Anyway, so we have a big fight going on over here. My Makedonia Orca, you can see, are really handing it to the Thoropheroi here. They do a great job of that. He successfully flanks this phalanx, which took an odd angle in deciding to attack this. Phalanxes sometimes bug a little and decide to do strange things when you tell them to attack. And so Arjos actually gives me a hand and brings in his Thracians over here to help out. But you can see what happens over here. I get a couple good charges. I have a large strength of numbers advantage. My Thoropheroi are coming over. I also send over both units of the Agrianians and the other unit of Makedonia Orca, which would have been on this side, to support. So I'm throwing a lot of weight into this what Shak had designated as just something to divert my attention, and he actually ends up having to divert more units over here than he'd have liked probably as well. So I moved the Tyroi around. The Tyroi are much better than the Scythian Noble Cavalry. You see me sort of trapping them over here. But in all the chaos, I routed all his axemen, and I'm so concentrated on killing these stupid annoying Bosphorian archers, which I hate to death, that I don't notice that he slips one of his Scythian Noble Cavalry away. And I have, as you can see, absolutely nothing behind this phalanx line. I'd really just counted on these Makedonia Orca to hold the flank, and I didn't think about him getting any units behind that. My other two Thoropheroi are over here, basically fighting as part of the Epeiros side. So he slips the Scythian nobles around, and they're going to have a really effective charge on me coming up. Over on this side, you can see this cavalry sort of a standoff over here. The Epeiros player got a little too overzealous and moves all his infantry in and gets hit by a big charge. And these axemen are about to break over here in any second. And you can see over here, the Scythian nobles hit me, and that causes a rout of one of my units of Tyroi, as well as the Thracian elite infantry also break. And rest of my phalanx line is completely disjointed now, and these levy phalanx are probably close to breaking as well.